WORT in Madison is a publicly funded radio station that has been airing a disinformation campaign by Johnny Johnson, who is a disabled dentist. He no longer practices. He injured his arm or wrist on his bicycle. He spends his time with his AR shooting boars and being the president of the American Fluoridation Society, where he travels the world preaching fluoride. He is an ordained minister, and the gospel he has to preach is about water fluoridation. So Johnny was on WORT last week arguing that anti-fluoridationists like to argue that fluoride ions are different in fluoride chemicals compared to the naturally occurring calcium fluoride. I have never heard anybody argue that the fluoride ions are different. A fluoride ion is a fluoride ion. F minus is F minus is F minus. It doesn't matter if it's in calcium fluoride or fluorosilicic acid or sodium fluoride. Fluoride ions are always the same. The thing that anti-fluoridationists are arguing is that calcium fluoride meets the definition of a mineral. Fluorosilicic acid does not meet the definition of a mineral. Fluorosilicic acid, you can look at any AI program and ask if fluorosilicic acid is a mineral. Does it meet the definition of mineral? They will all tell you no. It is captured in the pollution control systems of aluminum and phosphate fertilizer industry. It cannot go out into the environment because it's a pollutant. It pollutes the plants and the crops and the animals, so they have to capture it. And when they capture it, it's not just fluoride ions in that slurry. There's also arsenic in there, and mercury, lead, aluminum, radioactive materials. So the anti-fluoridationists are arguing that calcium fluoride and fluorosilicic acid are completely different compounds. They both contain fluoride ions. Nobody is arguing that they don't. But Johnny is using a red herring to distort this, and he's also using a straw man fallacy, which is basically he's telling a distorted version of the argument that we are saying. So fluorosilicic acid itself is not a fluoride ion, but it does contain fluoride ions. It also contains lead, arsenic. Lead and arsenic both have an EPA maximum contaminant level goal of 0. That means that the goal is to have 0.0 to infinity 0 of those two contaminants in our water. Yet, the fluorosilicic acid chemicals are actually adding a little measurable amount of lead, arsenic, also aluminum, mercury, radioactive materials to our drinking water supply. Nobody's arguing fluoride ions are different. We're arguing that the compounds, calcium fluoride and fluorosilicic acid, are not the same. They both contain fluoride ions, but they also, specifically the substance that's being added to the drinking water supply, contains these other contaminants in this slurry. Sure, it has fluoride ions in it, but it also has all of this other junk that we should not be exposing our kids to or pregnant women to. And with the evidence showing that fluoride exposure during prenatal development and in infancy, when a baby might be having their infant formula mixed with tap water, those are the two critical windows of exposure where we are seeing the harm being caused. So don't listen to Johnny's logical fallacies. Don't fall for that. Johnny is a trickster. He came to Green Bay and said that the fluoride lawsuit against the EPA that I was part of didn't even have anything to do with water fluoridation. It wasn't about water fluoridation. That was a lie. Johnny's known to lie quite often when it comes to fluoride. Him saying that we argue that the fluoride ions are different, that is not true. Nobody's arguing the fluoride ions are different. We're arguing that there's other contaminants in the fluorosilicic acid chemical that we shouldn't be exposed to. That's it. So here's that radio episode.
Another claim made by some anti-fluoridation activists is that the type of fluoride added is different from the ions that we see in naturally occurring fluoride, and that the fluoride added is an industrial waste. Are you aware of any community water supplies in the United States that are adding fluoride that is a waste to their drinking water?
Well, they call the fluoride different that is used in water additives than what's naturally existing in water. And as I said before, fluoride is in all water because as the aquifer comes up through the ground or on the surface water, it runs over rocks, it erodes those rocks and picks up fluoride from it. Now, when it's been looked at under nuclear magnetic resonance, the additive of fluoride that's used in water, the ion of fluoride, which comes from the gas fluorine, fluoride ions are no different than those that are naturally existing in the water. There's only one. There's not 6 or 7 different fluoride ions. What they try and say is, and it's a scare tactic, it's something that's used to try and get people to think it's a toxic waste byproduct of the fertilizer industry. The fluoride ions are no different no matter where they come from. They're identical. Now, you can use fluoride that comes from fluorite rock, the purple rock that we see. It's beautiful. Opponents like to say calcium fluoride, which is fluoride, is the natural fluoride. Well, yeah, it doesn't dissolve enough to give you fluoride in the water at levels that we need. So what do? You break it apart with sulfuric acid. The gases that are given off are caught in a water bath, and you get hydrofluorosilicic acid. It's exactly the same. No matter what process you're going through, that is what comes off, and it's being used. It's being used for water fluoridation. It's also being used for drywall, and phosphoric acid is also in the Diet Coke I'm drinking right now, and that comes from the fertilizer industry or the calcium fluoride generating industry who wants certain gases for making purification for quartz. There's just not enough calcium fluoride in the world to use because the stores are limited of it to know the amount that we have.
I am your host, Greg Michaud, for the second part of a 3-part series on fluoridation. If you missed the first part, you can listen to it at your convenience by accessing it from our website.